Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Shatter the Vain. My name is Brad Chmielewski, and we are fresh off the Vainglory League tournament that just ended. The North American bracket just finished up here. We're going to dive into it a whole bunch in this episode. I got GreeenRangerr joining me. We both watched all these games, so we're going to talk a lot about them. We're going to spoil it, so if you haven't watched these games, you're going to find out who won. So if you don't want to know that, go back and watch it, and then come back here and listen or watch this episode of the podcast. We're also going to dive into some of the 1.9 changes, issues and complaints about the skill tier reset, and a lot of fun stuff. I also want to mention I still got the Patreon page going. I know there's stuff going around about it got hacked and all that good or bad stuff. Don't worry about that. That's still up and going. So you can head over there at patreon.com/shatterthevain. There's some rewards, there's stickers, there's t-shirts, there's other stuff too. If we get more people donating, we'll start to do 2 episodes every week. Maybe we'll also start doing some stuff just focused on Vainglory League and the professional scene for Vainglory. So that would be a lot of fun. So definitely check that out, but I love everyone that's listens to the show, talks to me on Twitter, email, all that good stuff. So keep that up. Don't stop doing that. And here we go. Let's jump into this episode.
Shatter the Vain, a podcast about Vainglory.
This is the 53rd episode of Shatter the Vain. My name is Brad Chmielewski, and this is a podcast all about Vainglory. Every week, I try to break down the news, gameplay, game tips, and hopefully we can all become better players together. And every week, I'm bringing on a new person from the community, streamers and podcasters and artists and everybody. And this week, I have GreeenRangerr joining me. Welcome.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. I'm GreeenRangerr. You can find me at twitch.tv/GreeenRangerr. There's lots of E's and lots of R's in there. But that's the only thing that was left. But I'm new to Vainglory, my first MOBA. I love it. I love to stream it. And, the channel's been growing pretty quickly, and just love playing with you guys.
So was the name, do you use GreeenRangerr? Is that a nickname you have, and this was just what was available for Twitch and Vainglory, or?
It kind of goes back a little bit, but short story is I used to have long hair, and my friends used to say that I looked like Tommy the Green Ranger.
Okay.
Old school 90s Green Ranger, and so it kind of stuck, and I've pretty much used it for I use it for Xbox. All my IGNs have pretty much always been GreeenRangerr.
And with the multiple E's, or is that just a...
It's actually whichever one's available.
Okay. So you'll go default correct spelling, and then you'll start adding E's and R's.
I can.
Okay, nice. So in Vainglory, you stream a lot, and you do a lot of mini games, you play with the community and the viewers, right?
I do. I have a lot of different series. I try to be original. I have at least 2 to 3 days a week set up for viewer games. And then I have another half the week set up for ranked matches, and I have 2 days a week especially for solo ranked, where I actually let viewers snipe me. I let them know when I queue up.
Okay.
So that, because people love to snipe. They'll do it regardless.
Yeah, I know.
Solo queues, they're going to get sniped. But I make it easier for them, and they seem to enjoy it a lot. So it's a cool little mini series on my channel.
That's nice, because I'm selfish when I stream. It's just me and the people I trust, and we're just ranking, and I will very rarely do casual games with the viewers, and maybe that's why I don't have as many people watching. But when you're playing, when you're serious out there playing, who do you like to play? Are you a support main, jungle, carry? What do you like to do?
I started out as a lane carry. I've been drifting more towards jungle because there's a lot more action in jungle.
Yeah.
I don't like playing the last hit poke game in lane. It gets kind of old after a while. I like the tactical movement and rotations in jungle.
Yeah.
And I like to play a lot of jungle vox. I actually started playing jungle vox before this new 1.9 meta, which I think we'll talk about later.
Yeah, for sure.
But jungle crystal vox has always been strong. It's just you got to learn to play them the right way. And I love Adagio. I play a carry Adagio, Crystal carry Adagio.
Oh, nice.
Underrated hero. Probably not the best pick, but a lot of fun to play. And it's definitely a surprise pick. and lots of Rona. Those are my three favorite characters right now.
Oh, nice. I wish I knew how to play Rona better. Just
She's pretty strong, but
yeah,
she's got her kit, but it's a kit you have to really learn to be comfortable with.
right, for sure. Well, we had a big week for the news. We got VGL and patch 1.9 and some other fun stuff. So let's jump into the news.
Vainglory News.
So first off in the news, I think we need to talk about VGL, the Vainglory League. It just ended today as we're recording, Sunday night, and we don't really dive too much into the tournament scene and the professional scene on the podcast, but I think that could be changing as it's really starting to take off. So we may start doing more of that on here, so be ready for that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the VGL that just happened, because I know you were watching it, I just watched it, and to get our thoughts. NA just finished, but EU was earlier this morning. Were you watching that? Because I did not watch that. I'm like
I did
horrible
watch
at
most of them.
watching EU games.
It was interesting. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I feel that I think the NA community has we all have each server region has their own meta
Yeah.
and their own idea of like what's the best to build and what's the best play style. And I think that the European server still has a lot of room to grow in terms of like OP comps, because it seems like NA always 24 hours after every patch, NA finds that OP comp that everybody tries to get in the pick.
Right, yeah.
And I feel like the NA server is more experienced in terms of that. But it's really interesting to see all the different hero selections that comes across on the European side. So the games are always fun to watch. But I feel like you didn't see any really good close games until the finals today.
Okay, and that was with just so you know, we're gonna spoil it. So anyone that's listening and you haven't watched it, like they're gonna get spoiled here. But the finals was with Gamers 2, and who'd they face?
Red Chimera,
Okay,
so Jetpack's team,
nice.
the crowd favorites, I believe.
Right, sure. Gamers 2 is the I guess more of the professional organization that came in with the team. So they I guess bought up players.
Yeah.
So that was a close series. Did it go to all 5 games?
I believe it wasn't all 5 games. I believe it was the fourth. They took it to the fourth game.
Okay.
So they were still in the pick and ban phase. They didn't go to a fifth, blind pick phase.
Cool.
But they had some great matches. Really fun. Like it was a really good watch. I'd recommend, if you hadn't seen it, to go check out the past broadcast and take a look at it.
Okay, I might watch those while I'm working this week and just keep up on them. But Gamers 2 won it all, so I guess that's a good sign for them that they're investing this money into the game and their team pulled it off. So
Definitely.
it would have been bad if they would have been out in the first round. But then this evening was NA, and I watched, I think, almost all of these games. I want to talk about this Legacy Reborn game where they were against, was it Nemesis? Yeah. The semifinals?
Yeah, semifinals.
Yeah, what happened?
I think that they really let the drafting phase take them. They got outpicked on every match. They got heroes they got forced into picking heroes. One thing you've noticed about, I'm sure if you're following the North American series, is that there's a huge emphasis on crystal lane carries.
Yeah.
So that means you either have Vox, Celeste, or Scarf, and the preferred pick is Vox, depending on like the player. A lot of if you have a player on your team that prefers lane Vox, that's always a good pick. But he gets banned out a lot, and then it goes down to who gets Celeste and who gets Scarf. And Celeste, in my opinion, is a stronger pick. She's got a better early game spike than Scarf does, and she's got a stun, which offers a little bit more utility than Scarf's slow does.
Right.
And I think that forcing old school into the Scarf pick every game is what killed them.
And I want to say I said Legacy Reborn versus Nemesis, but that was Legacy Reborn against Ardent that I was saying that they got just crushed. but
Oh, okay,
I
yeah, you're
think
right.
I think that's the same game, but different
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
And I think both in both spots they lost because of the draft picking.
Okay.
They got in both cases, and it's a lot. The case for a lot of games is that you force the enemy team into inferior comp. And if your team isn't prepared to play certain comps, if they just didn't practice those heroes or they didn't practice those heroes working together, then you can really you can lose a game before it starts.
Right. Yeah. And we know old school. He plays a lot of Vox and Ringo. So yeah, like you said, getting him on those like mage heroes instead of those auto attack heroes is kind of difficult. It's a totally different play style.
Definitely.
And then so Arden Alliance, like I don't know, crushed them like so bad. It wasn't even like
Yeah.
how did that team and this team go up against each other. So Legacy Reborn was dropped down and they played Nemesis, and that game was those games were pretty good. I believe Legacy Reborn got third place, right?
Um, yes, they
Yeah.
did. Yeah,
So
they.
so Nemesis ended up in fourth. And before we get into the finals, to backstep a little bit, that Nemesis beat Gangstars yesterday, and
Oh,
that was a big, I think, surprise for everyone. I think everyone who turned in one of those uh, brackets that Super Evil was kind of putting out had Nemesis going to the finals here.
yeah. And actually, I had the same thoughts. But surprisingly, a lot of my guild members, like Flash and Miko, like the
Yeah.
ones that play in like the VG Gold, area, and they play against these teams in ranked queue every day. They all said that they expected Nemesis to win, and that was their pick.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm not sure they didn't give me like really solid reasons why. Um, but that was what they said. But it definitely surprised me that Nemesis pulled out the win and so solidly.
Yeah.
You know,
But Fuji and those guys put up a really good fight. So that was a good game. I think if you wanted to kind of set your stage for the NA finals, like go back and watch that one. That was definitely good.
definitely.
But then the finals came down to Arden Alliance versus Vaughn. And so Vaughn, they kept talking about the seeds, and hopefully they don't talk about the seeds later on. I feel like they will be irrelevant, but they're strong teams. But they were way down there in the seed bracket. They were like the 20th, and Arden was what, the third?
Third,
Yeah.
third. Now, I do have one thing to say about that. This leads to a lot of confusions, especially a lot of surprise matches when you're going through tournaments and you're playing. Um, but the members of Vaughn are actually all former Nemesis players.
Oh, okay.
All like Vainglorious Silver. So if they had been, but they were playing, all of them were playing on alternates. Like one of them is Love Ice Forever, one of them's Teo Aim,
Yeah, okay.
and I can't remember the other player. So if they had been using their main accounts with their high elo, they would have been probably ranked, seeded a lot higher.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Probably, definitely top 10. And they would have been more of a obvious contender for the finals.
Do you feel like the seeding makes any difference? Like if that team was to put together an alt account and they're like, the hotness team when Vainglory was or Super Evil was picking it, and so you get placed a little different in the bracket, or do you think
You
that?
definitely get placed different in the bracket, because it turns out that the higher seeded teams in the beginnings, they get easier games. You go up against a lower seeded team. Like you had in the beginning, you weren't seeing any good games
No,
because
yeah.
you had Nemesis and Gangstars going up against like the 100th seeded team in the first games, and it was just like okay, like we know who's gonna win this match. Like, can we just move on to more less obvious matches? And I think that them going in on alternate accounts changed the lineup and the brackets
Okay.
of the tournament quite a bit. And so whether it was easier or harder for them to make it to the finals is not for me to say. But it definitely changed the outcome of the entire tournament for sure.
Right, yeah, because it's a hard road. I know we both played in it. I only won one game or two games. I think we went up against Rumbly's team, and that was a fun match. And my team ended up losing. And how'd you end up doing?
We did all right. My team was Aces Persona as our laner, and then Don Eclipse
Okay.
and myself. We were the main characters or main players on the team. I switched jungle carry with support with Dawn Eclipse, and we made it to the top 16 right up
Okay.
before the semifinals. And our last game that we lost was against Legacy Reborn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was an interesting match. It was fun.
How'd
Uh,
you go? How'd you fare against them?
it was a really tough match. We had the early game on a couple games, but we quickly found that they were a more practiced team, and they had a lot better rotation tactics,
Okay.
and we just got outplayed a lot. We formed our team like the week before the VGL started, and we didn't really have a lot of practice. I'm a streamer, and a lot of my time is dedicated to streaming. And so we probably didn't have like maybe a quarter of the practice that they had during the tournament, and no telling how much less before the tournament started.
Oh, okay.
But it's always a great experience. Regardless of how far you go in a tournament, it's always fun to go in there and just see what you can do, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like it's a totally different experience than even playing with your team in the queue or even solo queue, just like practicing a same comp over and over again and same strategies. It's just a different thought that can get tiresome. But
Yeah, definitely. You can get some pretty big nerves going into a match, regardless of who you're facing.
yeah,
Especially if you're going to be streamed on live on Twitch. It can really be a mindset that it puts you in.
for sure. Yeah. Uh, so we're off topic a little bit, but we're back to the finals against Ardent Alliance versus Vaughn. This was I guess, very hyped up, fun match to watch. I think Ardent was the favorite to win here because, like we were saying, Vaughn was playing on these alt accounts, so most people didn't know who they were. It sounds like a few people did. But this ended up going in Ardent's favor pretty easily. Like those first two games, like they just showed, like, hey, we're the stronger team. We know the rotations. We just know what to do. And we were talking off air that you think they won these in the pick phase, the pick ban.
Uh, Definitely. Like I was saying earlier about Crystal Mages in lane, um, if you put Miko on Celeste, or we call him Miko, but Mish or Mixi, whatever you call him,
Okay.
his that's one of his favorite characters. That and Vox, and you saw for those of you who watched when you saw him play Celeste, it's just such an easy pick for him. And if you give it to him, even if he's playing from behind, Ardent is really great at playing from behind, playing it ahead. They know like where to go, what to do
Yeah.
as a team, whether they're ahead or behind in a game. And it started off in the pick phase, like we were talking about. They just outpicked the enemy team. Vaughn got some bad picks. Our team forced them to pick characters that either they weren't comfortable with or were just bad matchups against
Right.
Alliance's team.
Do you know the reason behind the jewel ban in off?
Von C is a jewel main,
Okay.
and his jewel is pretty nasty, and
Okay.
so it was a target ban actually.
Okay.
Um, so that's why it was banned 3 times in a row,
Okay. I'm sure they were.
2 times in a row.
If we would have made it to that fifth game, we probably would have seen Jewel come out.
Most definitely.
At the most, I wouldn't even say exciting game, but the most interesting game was the final game of the three, where Vaughn had this in the bag. Like they were going to win this game, and then they choked. Like they just
Yeah,
let.
they choked pretty hard.
Yeah.
Um,
They
I
just.
think that a lot of people were like, face palming that game, and they just didn't know, like, there wasn't any words for what was happening and why they were letting Alliance get back in on their feet.
Yeah.
Um,
Because at 15 minutes, I believe Vaughn was pushed into base. They had all the turrets down. They had the gold lead. They had the kills, and they just needed to push ahead. And I think everyone I would take Kraken at that point. That would be like the obvious call.
Definitely.
And for some reason, they did not do that. They just kept letting the waves come in. Scarf and Vox could clear them out. Fortress would just stand there and just, tank them and let them stop before they hit the turrets. So they get all that gold. And then Scarf just had an insane amount of items, like what double Eve, shatter glass, like everything you
He
want
was
to
full
scarf.
build.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was full build before they tried to engage. And the only explanation I could offer for that would probably be that Vaughn was afraid to make the first move or the first mistake.
Yeah.
They wanted Ardent to push out first, but Ardent said no. You saw Joseph, like, jokingly teleport back the game, like while he was standing in base, because they were prepared to play the waiting game and win it.
Yeah.
And they bought their jungle carry, bought a contract, and they just farmed those waves. And when they felt they got to a point where they could contest, you saw it. I
Yeah.
mean, Scarf was chunking the Takas for half his health with one Spitfire.
We had two interesting fights in there. I think the first one, Vox's ult went completely the wrong way, and then there's a fight, a skirmish, and everyone just kind of like, oh, okay, that's not going to work, and just backed off. And then we got in another good fight that looked like Vaughn had a good footing on it. They were even able to take out a kill, and then I believe Fortress ran into base and was like one hit away. And I think if they would have been able to kill Fortress, they could have taken down Scarf. But they weren't able to. Then they got base damage, and then Scarf just came in there and just cleaned it all up.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. I mean, the team's Ardent's team ability to fight from behind is probably, I would say, like unparalleled. I don't think I've ever seen a team play from behind and do it so well to where they made the enemy question whether or not they were able to push.
Yeah.
And I think nerves just got to Vaughn. They didn't want to make the first mistake, and it was all on the line. If they lost that game, then they lost. They dropped out of the tournament.
Right.
And it was a chance to go to Korea for the VIPL and the $5,000 on the line. And I think they freaked themselves out into letting the enemy turtle and win.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been smart to get Kraken
I think
originally?
that what in the 15 minutes, okay, that they took to do anything, for anything to happen, they could have taken two Krakens. Each Kraken, they would have gotten one turret. And on the second Kraken, or the third Kraken even, because there was 15 minutes in there, they could have had three Krakens. The third Kraken, they could have forced a fight or just like walk the Kraken in and finish off one turret, then the Vayne.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it should have gone. They shouldn't have been so afraid to give the enemy team 500 gold for killing Kraken.
They were getting it anyway.
Yeah, they were already like what 10, 12k ahead.
Yeah.
Giving the enemy team like what 1.5k was not going to do anything to them and put them behind at all.
And they still had all their turrets up? Maybe everyone but one?
All but one turret was up, I believe.
So even that first ace, that wouldn't have been the end of the game at 15, 20 minutes. But then at 30 minutes, that was it.
Even if they had gotten aced, as long as they made sure they had that minion in mind and they pushed the wave into Ardent's base, Ardent wouldn't have had a wave to take to their turrets to finish them off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Ardent could have maybe tanked maybe one or two turrets before they had to back off again. And Vaughn still would have been ahead at that point.
Yeah.
But they just decided to make no progress and just wait to a point where, Ardent felt like they could win a team fight, and they did.
Yeah. Well, great series. Congratulations to Ardent for winning that. So they get to go to Korea now and play in the VIPL, right? And
yes, incredible.
And Shin played on this team as well, right? Wasn't he an alternate?
He did. He was an alternate.
Okay. So I don't know if he's gonna go. I don't know if he would, give up his streaming days to go to Korea. But
he might. I mean, he could stream from Korea. He might love to take the experience, and he definitely has that option. I mean, if one of them falls sick while they're in Korea, I guess Shin could take their place. So he might go.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see, but it's definitely an exciting news especially since it's my guild.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely rooting for them.
That's cool. So do they add these two teams, like Gamers 2 and Alliance, or did another team in VIPL drop out? Like, are they kicked out? Is it kind of like
I believe they're kicked out. I believe that it works similar to the way the last VIPL worked, where they invited the winning team of the tournament to South Korea. Now they might pick another team to go. Like an all-star team. I don't know. Maybe they'll pick like Fuji's team or something. Like whoever was running up close. Maybe they'll invite Vaughn. just to make things more interesting, bring more of North America to the VIPL. So that's always a possibility, but I don't think anything's been confirmed yet.
Okay, yeah. I don't even know if we have a date yet for that.
I don't
Do
believe
we?
there's a solid date. No.
I haven't seen that. I don't know if it's going to happen soon because even the Vainglory League season 1 starts in
Yeah,
November. So like all these tournaments move so
definitely.
fast. It's like this one just ended. This was the preseason qualifier, and the season 1 tournament kicks off in November at some point. I think it'll be up on the website at some point, and you can find out how to sign
Be
up.
interesting to see. I think they want to keep these tournaments rolling out because Vainglory is quickly growing, and they want to keep the they don't want to put on the brake. They want to keep the pedal down. Uh,
Yeah.
so I expect it to be rather sooner than later.
Yeah, exciting, and it seems like the production value of VGL is growing. The casters are great. It takes a lot of weight off of Don John and Blueberries not to have to cast all these games. Like I can't even imagine how late it was for them. It was 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock my time, so they're in Germany. So
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be exhausted.
definitely. Yeah.
Go back and watch some of these games if you haven't seen them. They're exciting. It's great to see like the professional side of Vainglory really taking off, and it gives whole new life to the game, not just like you playing in your bedroom or the bathroom or wherever you play. Like this is like, oh, this is legit. Yeah, awesome. Continuing in the news is patch 1.9. So DragonBorne and me ran down the entire patch list in the last episode, so we're not gonna go through this whole patch list, but I wanna chat about the patch. It's been a few days now. We've played it. We've kind of seen people have been playing it, and so get some of your thoughts. How about Finn? Kick it off with Finn because everyone wants to talk about the new heroes and you like to pick him up too. It's just like, oh, I gotta play him. Like he's out. Let's get him. Uh, have you had a chance? You play jungle carry, so you're maybe not playing Finn that often. But
I've played Finn and I've played with Finn.
okay,
I actually do like Finn. Um, Now in the lower ranks, I think that he's a great pick regardless. When you
okay,
get into like the really competitive scene, it's more questionable because he's not an early game tank.
all right,
While he does have high base damages on his skills, probably the highest of any character at level 1 actually. It's like 100 and something damage, 130, 150 damage. It's pretty significant. He's slow and he doesn't offer a whole lot of
uh huh,
utility early. And so run the risk of getting snowballed by characters like Jungle Vox with Adagio. They will roll over you if you pick Finn as a carry, but if you can turtle it out and have your laner rotate down enough, you could potentially get to when he hits level 6, he becomes an absolute monster.
yeah. With that hook, like just pulling the right person in. I've seen some good hooks where they just grab the carry and we all just slow and stun. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, you're dead.
I can tell you the funnest thing we've done with Finn so far is you get early control of the minion miner and you minion candy it, and then you flare the top bush, the enemy lane bush, and if you see the lane carry up in the bush, you can hook the carry into the gold miner pit from the gold miner pit,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh,
you can literally make it a 4v1 and insta give their carry in the gold miner pit, and there's no way for them to get away because there's the rock that curves out and they have to run all the way around it to get out.
and they're just running through the team. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Oh my
instant
gosh.
death. It's pretty funny. If you guys haven't tried it, you should definitely go into some casuals and jump in there and try and get it to happen.
Oh man, yeah, I might have to give that a try. I've only played a couple games with him. He is a lot of fun. That it's crazy how big that stomp is. Like you're like, oh my god, that like either
Oh
hit
yeah.
them or if you get hit by, it, you're like, no way, come on.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's hard to deal with, especially if you're like a ranged hero and you're trying to kite and he keeps yanking you back and it's pretty awful.
Yeah, and then Sky got quite a big rework. I gotta say, I'm terrible with Sky. I do not understand this kit. I'm like bad at like landing everything and auto locking, and I just need to practice more. I think with Sky, but I haven't seen like more Skies than I was before.
I think that there's probably it's not that she's bad now. I think that there's probably just stronger picks.
Okay.
Um, but she is really strong. Her early game, contrary to what most people say, her early game is really strong. She does a lot of damage early game. She does fall off late, even if you get her fed. She
Okay.
still hurts late, but her abilities are subject to situations. For example, her forward barrage hits the first target in its path, including minions.
Yeah.
And say you have a Catherine that steps in front of your forward barrage, and you say you've got a Shatterglass, a Broken Myth, and a Frostburn. Um, all you're doing is killing your entire team.
Yeah.
And there's no way for you to fire through Catherine, so you basically have to shut off your ability. And then, that's all your damage if you go Crystal is your abilities. And if Catherine keeps stepping in front of you, like, what are you going to do? So she's got some really obvious counter picks, and she's hard to play. There's definitely a high skill cap.
Yeah, what happens with me when I'm playing with her is I turn on and off the barrage like too quickly. I'm used to playing like Ringo where it's like tap, tap, tap. And it's like, oh, I turned it off. I didn't mean to turn it off. Okay, now I have to wait.
She's really difficult to play. I'm not going to lie. Shinkaigen and I have been running her in lane and me playing Jungle Vox, and we've had some pretty solid matches.
Okay.
But she does lose to characters like Celeste.
Sure, okay.
Just because Celeste has much longer range, her poke damage is so much higher, and her abilities are a lot easier to land on the right target than Sky's are.
Yeah. You mentioned Catherine, and I think that bubble is kind of too strong now. It's like, man, that bubble damage hurts.
I have killed myself on Catherine's bubble more times than I can count. I remember shanking Catherine at low health with a Crystal Saw, and I shanked myself for like 600 damage. So
So we might see that bubble get changed a little bit. I don't know.
it's pretty strong if you know how to utilize it.
But the biggest thing I think on the forums and Twitter is got to be the skill tier reset. That's just like, I gotta say, it's driving me kind of mad. The reason being is because, like, all right, I'm all for the skill tier reset. Like, that's fine. I think it like gets rid of some of those older accounts that people were smurfing and just leveled up joke accounts. Like, it kind of gets you out of that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is now we're running into solo queue and you're running against these guilds and teams that previous patches, like, they might have been playing as a team, but I didn't know that. I had no way to tell. And now I get in the game and I see Arden or Wicked or Vertigo or Nemesis, and it's like, what? This is bullshit. Like, I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And I just went up against the team. Like, I feel worse, and it's in my head that, like, oh, they're on Discord, they're talking, like they're gonna win, like they have the advantage, like they're a team that plays together. I'm just a dude in solo queue, so I just feel like I should not be going against a team.
Oh, I agree. I agree that mentality is really easy to succumb to, and that it does seem like you see a lot more teams, whether or not it was the case beforehand and you just couldn't tell because there was no tag.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say that's an issue that will be short-lived. You won't be seeing, even if you were going up against teams, if you go up against teams in, like, say, a week or so, you'll be going up against teams that are around your skill tier, like truly around your skill tier, not just teams that are hotness that have been reset to hotness and they just haven't climbed back out yet.
But do you still think that's fair? Like, you should, as a solo player, being going against the obvious team?
I don't agree with it. No, I think that I would love for there to be a completely separate queue for team ranked, and then another queue for duo or solo queue. Yeah. Exactly. I think that when you go up against a team, regardless of if they've ever played before, just voice communication alone can decide a game. Where pings don't suffice. Voice communication will.
Because I think Super Evil could set it up where if you have your team, it's created, you're in that team queue. And then even if you're a guild and you want to play together, you can only do that in casual queue as a team. Like, all right, casual queue, like, that's fine. But then there should be that solo ranked, the team ranked, and then, like, casual, whatever, team, solo, anything goes.
I think at this point in Vainglory's life is that they're looking at, do we have enough players going into ranked queue as a team right now? Or are we going to be hurting those people that want to go into a ranked game, but we don't want to make them wait 15 minutes to find a match?
Right.
And I think that could become an issue if that's what they decided to do. And I think they want to avoid frustration with their higher level players, as well as the lower level players. But it's hard to meet people in the middle in this in certain situation.
Yeah, I think they could still tweak those numbers that the team has to wait a little longer.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I agree.
Just like give them an extra minute to look for a queue. Like I haven't had long queues because everyone's like in that same skill tier right now. It's all been within a minute. Make the team wait a little longer for another. Everyone's playing on teams. There's got to be another team out there for them to
Yeah,
face.
definitely. I definitely run it into teams all the time, and I've already done solo queue on my stream, and I think I ran into a team probably every other game at least.
Yeah.
And I found it really difficult to play solo queue, especially since I kept running into like Cole the Meek and Iraqi Zoro.
Yeah,
Solo queue.
I ran into the Nemesis team one night playing like because I end up playing like late, like oh it's midnight, like I'll play a couple games before bed. It's like, oh that's when they're playing together because they're all
Yep.
available, and it's like crap, I should just go to sleep.
Yeah. Go to sleep or play casual.
All right. I hopefully this does, like you're saying, even itself out, but then it's just gonna happen again in like 3 months. It's or 4 months.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess it's sort of disheartening at that point because even you'll see these teams and these players rank up their counts, then they're gonna jump on their alts, rank those up. It's like I just need to get out of hotness here. Come on.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had this running joke where basically I'm just gonna stop playing ranked queue for the next week and a half, and then I'm gonna go steal everybody else's elo after they've ranked themselves up.
Okay.
Because I feel like even if you do win games right now, the elo gain is so small because you're going up against teams they're all hotness or lower than you.
Right.
And it's just even if you do finally find a match where you go up against a team that's like at your skill tier, if you beat them, you just don't gain anything. And it seems like it's taking like twice the number of games to rank up as it used to. And I think that's a huge source of frustration from a lot of people right now.
Yeah, and I guess one more complaint about this compression before we get out of here, or before we stop talking about this, but the fact that it was compressed. So at the end of it, I was S8 gold, so I ended up being pretty good gold. And then on the other side, if somebody was pretty good gold, they might have ended up being pretty good bronze. And so those same people are on my team when I'm playing and I go against a team or even like other people that got dropped down. So it's like we're not the same skill tier.
No, not at all.
And so it's you see it happen. It's like what are you doing? Like
Yeah, that's a huge gripe of mine too. And I find that especially in solo queue, you get it seems like more often than not I'm getting like the pretty good players who were pretty good before the patch.
yeah.
And then I'm getting on the enemy team, hotness players that were vainglorious before the patch, and I'm just like, oh well, where's the disparities like coming from? Like, why am I getting the bad players? And like, I know, like, I'm not just joking or I'm not just complaining because I know these people's names,
Right, yeah.
because I'm used to playing in the high skill tier, and I know that like my teammates, I've never seen them before, but then I go up against like everybody, these full team of vainglorious players that I know for sure are vainglorious. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Hopefully within a month, maybe at 1.10 or 1.11 we'll be like, okay, I'm back at the skill tier, but are you going to feel frustrated to do it all again later on? I don't.
That's what I worry about is people becoming discouraged in the long run with these skill tier resets. But what I'm hoping is that next time around the high skill tier players, they won't compress their elo as much, or they will just do it like step it differently, because I don't think a vainglorious gold player should be getting reset to hotness. It took a lot of those players months and months, like ever since Vainglory came out, to get vainglorious gold.
Right.
A lot of grinding, lots and lots of hours, like over 1,000 games for some of them, 1,000 wins. So no telling how many games.
Yes. So, the people like Xenotech and Iraqi, like they play all the time. Like they'll be able to get it up there again, but like other people with jobs or families who did make it up that high, it's like I'm not gonna be able to do it again. Like just strictly on a time thing, not even a skill. It's like.
I'm really hoping that next time around, either if they do compress the elo, they have a track of it after the compression happens, so that you still go up against some of the same people. So like it has your compressed elo, but it still takes into account like what your elo was before the patch
Yeah.
for when it goes into matchmaking. So you can stop going up against these teams that you should never be facing.
Yeah, and you mentioned this was your first MOBA, but in League of Legends, they have like what are called placement matches every time a season starts. So you have to play, in that case, 10 games, and it's like, okay, hey, you're in this skill tier.
Yeah.
And I wonder if something would be better for Vainglory. Like, you have to play 3 placement games before we even give you a skill tier. Like,
That would be
it
nice.
just
Yeah.
disappears right now. We know what it is because it's hidden. Play your 3 games, and we'll tell you what it is.
Yeah. And I think it definitely should be that. But then we'd also run into the issues of people would like boost other people's accounts into a higher skill tier, and because you could technically at that point party with anybody. Iraqi Zoro and Cold Meat could party with
That's true, yeah.
like a really bad player, like somebody who's just brand new to the game, and get that account into like POA like off their first few placement matches, and they would never deserve to be in that skill tier. So I would love to see for them to do something similar to what you suggest, but I think that the Vainglory is SEMC is walking a fine line right now, and I don't know if they're prepared to deal with it.
Yeah, I think this is many steps in their direction and their path that they're on. So I don't know. Bear with it. There's going to be many frustrated tweets from I think everybody. That's not already way high skill tier. If you're
There won't be any shortage of those.
yeah, so and I'm sure they know that. But 1.9's been pretty nice so far. A lot of good and massive changes. So it's been fun to be playing it, and it changes up the game quite a bit whenever we have a patch. We also got the conclusion to the Finn lore. All these lores are really fantastic. So if you're not reading them, go check them out. Sugar Venom does a great job with them all, and always fun stories. But it seemed like in this last one, we mentioned 2 other heroes, and it almost feels like we're going to get a trio of heroes this time. We got Princess Melina, or Melini, and Blackfeather. They're just both kind of mentioned, and they're fighting, and they're like working with Finn on this adventure that they're on. Did you get a chance to read this at all? Do you read a lot of the lores?
I have in the past read a lot of lores. I haven't delved too much into the new lore, but I would love to see a new set of heroes, just similar to the Vox, Celeste, Arden combo.
Yeah.
And they all have their lore and their abilities and heroic perks all kind of intermingle.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
So it'd be nice to see, and I'd love to see what SCMC has put together for us.
Yeah, they mentioned this Princess Melini. She has like a giant mirror. It almost looks like I don't know, like a spiked baseball bat kind of thing, but it looks like a mirror. I guess it's a mirror. So she hit the other person with it. So she could be like a melee attacker, but if she has a mirror, I wonder if she could like reflect spells back, like a Celeste alt comes at, she like uses her reflect and it shoots back. Or
That'd be
something
interesting.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually praying for a weapon power carry, whether that be ranged or melee. I would prefer ranged, but I know they've had. Let's see, what did we have last? We had Finn. Before Finn, we had, what did we have?
Fortress?
Was it Fortress? Okay, so that's 2 melee heroes in a row. I don't know.
Rona.
Rona. So that's 3 in a row. So it'd be interesting to see if they would release a 4th melee or if they'd go for another ranged. And one thing I'd love to see is weapon power, because crystal lane carries are dominating the meta right now.
Yeah.
And no matter what they do to tweak heroes and patches, it seems like characters like Celeste and Scarf have really seen a lot of play, and it seems to be the new OP comp in almost all regions and servers.
Yeah, it is nice that Ringo is back, though.
Yeah, that is true, but you actually haven't seen him a lot in Rank Q. I mean, out of all the games I've logged, I think maybe once I've seen him.
Okay.
And I think that is because characters like Celeste are just overshadowing, and I think that Ringo is more of an early game hero.
Yeah.
And the changes they've made to turrets recently, making them tankier, giving them a health barrier when there's no minions present, is really given CP mages who scale more in the late game a higher priority in the pick stage, because you know that your games are going to get to like past the 15, if not past the 20-minute mark every time.
Sure, yeah. There hasn't been a lot of 8-minute games. I haven't run into those yet.
The fastest I've been able to end a game is like just under 13, 14 minutes, and it was against a really unfair matchup. Uh,
Okay.
so I think I'd love to see a ranged, lane carry, weapon
Okay.
lane carry.
All right. Well, maybe one of these three, if this is a tease of a trio of characters. So,
Yeah,
um, it'd be fun. I do like when they all start to go together and the pieces click in the lore. It's fun. So definitely go check that out if you have it. And the last bit of news, I'd like to mention the free hero rotation. It's especially good for new players. This week's a pretty, I guess, safe lineup. It's not too bad. We got Kashka, Saw, Ringo, Fortress, Scarf, and Glaive. So you got that CP carry right there, that Scarf, if you want to practice.
yeah, he's definitely a good pick.
I think this is a great kit for anyone like jumping into the changes in 1.9. You get to try Ringo. You get to see how Fortress is working. Now they he didn't change, but other people changed around him. So he's a little safer now, I guess, or a
Yeah.
little more played. And then you have Glaive, who's still super strong. So I think it's a good set for anyone who wants to try out a new character. All these characters are pretty good picks right now.
Yeah, they definitely put in a wide range of characters. So all of them, I suggest, try them out and see who's your play style.
And we should. Finn's not going to be in it for a while, but Finn will be available for Glory coming up later this week. So be ready for that, and I'm sure we'll start to see even more Finns on the Halcyon fold.
Oh yeah, if you're a support main, definitely pick up Finn. He's a game changer. He
Okay.
really is a game changer.
Nice. Well, that's all the news, but I have a topic from the forums.
Forum static.
So I didn't want to mention this in our 1.9 talks because I felt like it was more appropriate for the forum static, because we're going to talk about Petal here. There's lots of posts on Reddit and the Vainglory forums just about how Petal is still trash. Like, just to keep it short,
Yeah.
they reworked this kit. I think it sounds good on paper. It sounds like really fun and exciting. Your seeds like blow up and knock people back. You can jump off of them. You just have more purpose, it seems, in the game.
Hmm.
But she's still not being played.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of reasons. It's no secret that there's a public beta, and I've
Yeah.
been testing. We were testing Petal pretty thoroughly, and a lot of the changes that were made to her, the potential changes, made her really, really, really strong. Like
Okay.
strong. Where if you didn't pick her, you wouldn't win.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think that her kit is really hard for them to balance because she takes away, like, she's CP. That's her. All her kit is supposed to be CP. That's all her abilities scale with CP. Nothing scales with weapon. And the crystal carriers are more bursty in Vainglory. Like Celeste, she hits you for like 500 damage for a Helio in late game.
Yeah.
So Petal, on the other hand, her minions kind of like chip away at your health. Like, it may like be quick, like when you get to late game, but the damage isn't constant, or it doesn't seem consistent. And with the all of the AOE damage heroes we have right now, her minions just die instantly.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, even with the new 3 ticks of health, instead of like them actually taking damage, they just take 3 hits and they're gone. How hard is that for Vox to use his resonance and
Yeah.
some of them? How hard is it for even Sky to forward barrage? They're gone instantly because there's like 1,000 ticks of damage on Sky's forward barrage. So she's seen irrelevance in her crystal power, and then in her weapon power, they nerfed her range by 1 unit, and it took away a lot of her prowess.
Okay.
Even when she used to be a weapon attack like carry back in the old days, her ranged is what made her that strong.
Breaking Point Petal was a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
And through the series of changes, it's just made it so that her weapon power is no longer as strong as it could be, and her CP power just doesn't feel very strong, even though
Okay.
it may be potentially strong against the right team.
Okay. Do you think, is there a good way to fix her? Is it just giving her back that range? Is it making her be able to jump higher or farther. That was one of the comments in the forums. Like if she could jump even farther, maybe double that jump distance.
I don't know if double, but I would say a half a tick, a half a unit more on the jump would make her escape ability over walls a lot better. Because right now you have to like position it perfectly to get over some like really simple walls.
Yeah.
And when you're in the middle of like a fight or you're running away, you don't have the time to set that C down in the perfect spot to get over the wall. So a half a unit more on the jump would be nice, and then give her back her range so that she's viable as a weapon carry again.
Okay.
And I think that she could have a place. And I think that like a lot of heroes over the course of Vainglory, players will just have to find her play style. What makes her OP? How can you play her that makes her viable in the meta?
Yeah, maybe somebody is out there working on it right now, so we may see it surface.
Yeah, definitely.
The other comment I heard, like maybe the siege should stay longer on the ground, because right now they disappear fairly quickly.
Yeah, and if your seeds are dead, if your munions are dead, then you can't get the heal in lane anymore because your seeds like turn into munions, and then you no longer have any heal at your turret. You know.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
kind of missing that. So maybe just adding that seed heal and time back to it would help you out a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was overlooked when we were testing. We didn't really consider that portion of her kit being nerfed, unintentionally.
It probably makes her more appropriate for ARAMs now. She's not like.
Yeah, she's not OP anymore for ARAM.
So that's.
I've actually discussed unbanning her in my ARAM games.
All right, so that helped everyone playing ARAM. So.
Yeah.
So if you have any comments on PETA, like go into one of these forum posts and throw them in there. I know Super Evil reads a lot of these, and they take everything into consideration. And the other funny thing I saw on the forums that I just want to mention, it's not even like static, it's more of a tip. But if you unlock a tier 1 skin, it does not give you the hero. So you can unlock any of the skins. Like if you right now have ice on your account for the Celeste or Petal skin, the special Halloween ones, but you don't own them and you want to get the skins before it's gone, that's fine, you can have it, but it's only playable during their free rotation. I think a lot of people thought you get both, and then like all of a sudden this hero that you had the skin for is gone the next week.
I guess I can understand that confusion since the skins are a little bit more expensive than just a regular season skin.
Yeah.
So I can see how people might get confused. So be wary, guys.
Yeah. I'd love to see some bundles down the line.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'd love to see some bundles.
But man, but you know what? That's gonna do it for episode 53. Green Ranger, where can people find you, get in touch with you, watch your stream, all that good stuff?
You can find me at twitch.tv/GreenRangerr with 3 E's and 3 R's.
Okay.
And also you can find me at my Twitter handle is GreenRangerr, 3 E's and 2 R's.
Okay.
The same as my IGN. If you guys want to add me in game, you guys can come check out the stream. My IGN's GreenRangerr with 3 E's and 2 R's. So GreeenRangerr.
All right. I'll include these links in the show notes and in the post so everyone can go over there and follow you up. Are you streaming every day, or what's your schedule currently?
I stream every day, starting at 6 p.m. Central, usually till about 10 p.m. Central.
Okay.
So you can find me if you come looking one a day during the week. I'll be there.
Okay, awesome. And if you want to follow Shatter the Vain on Twitter at Shatter the Vain, website shatterthevain.com. All the episodes get posted there. Links to iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud, however you need to watch it, it's there for you. And you can email me too at shatterthevain@gmail.com if you have any comments about the show or any recommendations of other people that should be on. You want to hear some other voices, definitely do that. But that'll do it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening, Green Rangers. Thanks for joining me, and take care.
Shatter the Vain.